Hello everyone, welcome to another doll customizing video with me Akin. Before we start, shout out to my coffee members. Roger, Sinbilops, Ruby Rouge, Warren G, Start Planting, Mel, Awkward Burb, Invisible Bear, Mel Again, Hanu Made This, Star with the Emoji, Jasmine, Magazine, Steffi MC, and Heather McCormick. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, I really appreciate it. If you also want to help assuring the longevity of this channel, consider becoming a coffee member. Link is in the description down below. It's June, so be who you are for your pride and all that. Throughout my doll customizing journey, I've made characters who are canonically queer, like Miranda, who is a trans woman, Ethel and Rika are a lesbian couple, and Grizzly is a gay bear. Now it's a good time to add more to this lineup. For this project, I'm gonna use the same formula I did for Grizzly, which is basically personifying the flag. This time I picked the non-binary flag. Why did I choose this one? Why not? I want points from the they-thems. I said this before and I'm gonna say it again. I might be pandering, but you can't deny my contribution. And please don't ask me to turn this into a series because I will not. Disclaimer, I'm a cis male, so if throughout this video I say or do anything wrong or offensive, I would like to apologize in advance. It's not my intention. We got yellow, white, purple, and black as our color palette. This should be interesting, so let's begin. From the get-go, I wanted the doll to be white, not as in Caucasian, as in white. So I considered these two for the base Spectra Founder guys from Monster High or Applewhite from Ever After High. Then I remember the amount of Monster High girl dolls I have in my stock box, so I should go with Spectra. The hip joints are a little loose though. I hope it won't be a problem. For the head, I got this loose Frankenstein's head, which I'm gonna use. This is kinda like a nod to G3 Frankenstein because they're also non-binary. Anyway, let's cut the hair as close to the scalp as possible. I put Spectra in hot water for about a minute before switching it with the Frankie's head, and then I removed the Spectra's head because we only need the body. See you in another project, if ever. The head is now a lot squishier, then I scrape off the remaining stubbles using a flat-headed metal tool. After that, I extract the stubbles with some tweezers. I came across something I've never seen before. The ends of the hair were burned to keep them in place instead of glued. No wonder it felt a lot scratchier when I scraped them off. But they got cleaned off just the same, so it doesn't really matter. I just thought it was interesting. Is it just me or Frankie's head is a lot bigger than Spectra's? Is it because it's from G2? Speaking of which, let's try attaching the head to the body because G2 head is sometimes wobbly on a G1 body. The head is fully compatible, too tight even. Let's remove it again. Remove the factory paint with 100% pure acetone. Clean the head with some wet wipes to wash off the excess acetone and put the head aside for now. I know non-binary people can present themselves as masculine or feminine, but for this character, I want to go with the androgynous route. Or try to, cause I don't quite understand what makes androgynous looking people look androgynous. So I wanna do some body modification. Nothing too extreme, I just want to change the silhouette just a little. First things first, I want them to have flat feet, so the tip-toe fit should go. I was kinda worried cutting the lower legs because they're transparent. I thought they would break like glass or something, but nope, they cut just like any other legs I cut before. Oh! Saying that out loud makes me sound like I should not be part of society. For the flat feet, we're going to harvest them from this Harry Potter body. Then I sand down the bases to make them flat and even the best I can. I want the doll to be able to stand on their own. I also sand down the breast because I want them to have a straighter silhouette, no pun intended. Some non-binary people get top surgery, so you can see it that way. As you can see, the ankles of the new feet are bigger than the ankles of the lower legs, so I sand them down to match. Looks good enough. The feet have cavities, so let's fill them up with epoxy. Then I drill holes in the feet and legs. For the connectors, I superglued some acrylic rods into the holes in the legs and then superglued the feet. I hope they're even enough to make the doll able to stand on their own. Then I sand down the seams between the connecting parts again to make sure they have the same circumference. For some reason, I'm really trying to make these parts seamless. Here I'm sanding down the molded underwear, just the front part I guess cause I gave up doing the back part. Then I sand the whole body to roughen up the surface so epoxy will stick better to the plastic. Wipe off the sanding dust. Now we can start sculpting. I start by applying epoxy on the back. I really dislike the sway back look, so I add more material to straighten it. Then I apply epoxy on the chest. I'm making it flatter. Because I didn't sand down the backside of the molded underwear, I apply a thin layer of epoxy on that area to even out the surface. Now that I have a better posture. Can't say the same thing about myself. Anyway, I continue by making the neck a little bit thicker. I also do the same to the upper arms. And the forearms as well. And conceal the seams on the lower legs. We're done with the sculpting part and here's what it looks like. And I only wasted this much epoxy from mixing too much of it. I am such a mathematician. Okay, now let's get sanding, starting with some rough grit sandpapers to take out large bumps and even out the overall surface. Then I sand the body again with fine sanding sponge to make the surface nice and smooth. I rinsed the body and let it dry. Now we can paint it with watered down white acrylic paint. It's pretty nice that I don't have to mix paint, just use it straight from the tube. After 4 layers of paint, it still looks really patchy. I experienced the same thing with the yellow paint where the coverage isn't so good. Maybe I should get higher quality acrylic paints. Just so you know, I never use or have artist grade art supplies because they tend to be really expensive. If you use them, are they worth it? Anyway, I decided to apply a few more layers of paint. I stopped at 9 layers. That is the most amount of layer I feel comfortable with. The result is not the best, but it's acceptable. Now I paint the lower legs, forearms, and hands. I paint these parts separately because I use them to hold the doll up while waiting for the paint to dry before. Now we can seal the paint by spraying the body with this matte top coat twice. We're done with the body. Nobody blushing this time cause remember how many layers of paint we applied? Better be safe than sorry. Let's put the head back on. Actually, let's remove the forearms first. They kinda get in the way. There we go. Let's wrap up the body in cling wrap so we can focus on only the head. Now we paint the head white. It took 8 layers of paint to get an okay result, still a lot more than usual, but anyway, let's give the head 3 initial layers of Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Matte to both seal the paint and prep the surface so pigments will stick to it. It's a new can, it looks different and it says matte now instead of flat. I begin with initial blushing with soft pastels. I try to be subtle with the blushing because the doll is straight up white and it's really easy to get carried away and apply too much. I apply a bit of purple on the cheeks and gray on the nose, eye areas, ears, and jawline. I sprayed another layer of MSC and colored the lips. They're gonna be purple. Then I map the eyebrows. I want them to have pretty thick eyebrows. Using a kneaded eraser, I shape them better and make them crisp. Still on the same layer, I sketch the eyes with a light gray watercolor pencil. Another layer of MSC and I color the scleras white. You might think that's unnecessary, but we made those areas darker with the blushing before. Then I color the irises yellow. Apply color on the lips some more to make them vibrant. All the placements and colors have been laid out, so let's start building up the colors. I sketch the eyelids while I'm at it. Also sketch the pupils and continue building up the colors. Spray the face again with MSC and I start using the black pencil to draw the eyebrow hairs. The eyelines and the eyelids as well. Then I start shading the eyes and making the pupils black. Draw on some waterlines with purple pencils. Then I draw 3 chunky bottom eyelashes on each eye to add a little something. Another spray of MSC and I add more details like coloring the nostrils because the nose is barely visible and the lip line. Then I continue building up the colors on the eyes. Then I dot on the eye shines with white acrylic paint. The yellow of the eyes isn't as bright as I want it to be, so I paint those parts with yellow acrylic paint. The yellow still isn't that bright, but it's better than before and I'm pretty happy with it, so now we can spray the face with a generous amount of MSC to seal the face up. It took 10 layers of MSC to finish the face up, again more than usual. I thought it would take less since the base is white, but I guess not. Anyway, I like the face up. If you look at it up close, the brushstrokes are terrible. But again, if you also customize dolls, I advise you to not be a perfectionist because you have to be able to shrug off things like this. If it's good enough for you, move on. Never aim for perfection. Moving on to the hair, I want to give them a mullet. I reckon mullet is a pretty popular hairstyle within the non-binary community, so let's give them the hairstyle. The sides are gonna have a shaved look, so here I'm making flocking powder by cutting up this residue made from brushing acrylic yarn into fine little pieces. Yes, it's gonna be yellow. I try to make it as fine and powdery as possible, and doing this actually hurts my fingers. This should be good enough. Here I'm marking where the shaved parts are gonna be. I lay down a piece of paper underneath and start applying the flocking powder with PVA glue. Do it in small sections at a time. I let it dry completely before brushing it. The excess flocking will fall onto the paper, which makes cleaning up easier. As you can see, it still has a lot of bald spots, so let's apply a second layer. Yeah, that's enough. For the rest of the hair, I separate it into 4 parts: the front, the left side, the right side, and the back. I already made yarn wefts for the hair in the non-binary flags colors. First, I try to glue, style, and trim the hair to get that jagged but nicely layered look. But I can't figure out how, so I start over. Starting from the bottom of the back, I glue 3 rows of weft, working my way up. Then I trim it to about nape length and fine tune the ends. I glue 2 more rows to reach the mark and trim it shorter than the rows underneath. The wefts are in no particular color order, by the way. Then with a heated flat metal tool, I press the wefts down. I refrain from taming the hair with water because I'm worried about the flocking. PVA glue is not waterproof. We're done with the back, now let's do the front. I glue wefts in the opposite direction, the ones that will get flipped to make a hair part. Then I fill the bald spot with more wefts. I trim them as I go. Press down the weft part and trim it. The front part is finished, now let's do the right part. Glue the weft part first, make sure it's flushed with its corresponding weft part. It should look something like this. Now fill in the bald spot. Hot press the wefts down and trim them. Now do the same thing for the left part. Well, the hair still looks like shit. It sticks up and won't lay down. There is no other way, we have to tame it with water. I think as long as I don't touch it and let it completely dry, the flocking should be fine. See how well that worked? To think I could skip that process. Look how crazy the part is. I did that. Most of the awesome stuff is happening in the back. Is it a mullet though? Doesn't matter, I love the hair, I love how edgy it looks, and I think I redeem myself with this one because I don't like the hairs of my last 2 projects. Anyway, I got this flat back black heart-shaped nail decoration and I'm gonna glue it to their left ear for an earring. I don't like to pierce my dolls. Looks pretty cool, now we can remove the cling wrap. The paint flaked off on a small part. I should have put cling wrap in between the legs. Am I going to fix that? Fuck no, I'm just gonna make the clothes cover that up. And also, the hip joints are a lot looser now than we started. What the fuck? Moving on to the clothes, I'm gonna make a tank top out of some black t-shirt fabric. It's a one-piece pattern, and first I'm gonna hem the neckline and the armholes. I use a glue stick to glue down the seam allowance because pins are out of the question. You just have to iron it right away to make the glue dry instantly. When you're sewing t-shirt material, use a ballpoint needle and sew the fabric on top of tissue paper for more stability. Here I'm discarding the tissue paper. See how nice the stitches are? No skip stitching whatsoever. Anyway, let's sew the side seams together. Hem the bottom part. Finish the opening and we're done sewing the tank top. For the pants, I wasn't sure what fabric I'm gonna use to make them, so I went to a fabric store and picked this up as options. I narrowed them down to these two. This polka dot fabric has the right colors, but it's polka dot. It's giving clown vibes and that is not the vibe. I really like the pattern of this houndstooth fabric. I just wish the yellow was a lot brighter and more vibrant because it's mustard yellow, not yellow yellow. But let's use this fabric anyway. I'm gonna make them a pair of 3/4 pants, and here's the pattern. First, we sew the front seams together. Then I sew 2 rectangular black fabric to each side of the bottom of the legs to make cuffs. I did a top stitch and trimmed the excess fabric. I hemmed the cuffs. Now pay attention here. The wrong side of the hem should be on the same side as the right side of the pants. I hope what I'm showing here makes a lot more sense than what I just said. Then we can sew the waistband. After that, sew the back seams together but leave enough room for the doll's butt. Then I finish the opening. The finished opening looks kinda like this. Then I turn the pants wrong side out and sew the inner legs together. But leave the cuffs alone, we're gonna finish them later. Snip the fabric right between the bottom of the pants and the cuffs, then turn the pants right side out. It should look something like this, and only now we can sew the cuff seams together. Trim the excess seam allowance and fold up the cuffs and the pants are done. I also want to make a varsity style jacket out of purple and yellow t-shirt fabric. Here's the pattern, and first we're going to sew the shoulder seams together. Here's the collar. It's made out of some black ribbing fabric and I did a stay stitch on the edge, and now we sew it to the neckline. The front pieces have these offset parts. Fold them like this and sew them down following the previous stitch. Snip the edges and pull the collar up. Looks pretty good. Now we can attach the sleeves. Attaching sleeves has always been and will always suck ass, so just take your time. Are we gonna sew the side seams now? No, I'm gonna add cuffs. The cuff length is about 80% of the wrist circumference. Here's a rare footage of me sewing. I stretch the cuff as I sew to match the wrist length. The cuffs are pretty thick and the ribbing material they're made out of stretches a lot, so I do a base stitch to keep them in place. Now we can sew the side seams together. Remove the base stitch. Trim the excess seam allowance and turn the jacket right side out. The waistband will be constructed out of these 3 pieces, 1 folded strip of black ribbing that is about 50% of the waist circumference, and 2 folded strips of yellow fabric that are each 15% of the waist circumference. Sandwich the black ribbing with the yellow fabric on one end and sew, and do the same to the other side. It should look something like this, then pull the yellow fabric away from the black ribbing and sew that other side close. Trim and snip the edges, then turn the yellow parts right side out and it should make one continuous strip. Like this. Now we can sew this to the rest of the jacket. We finish the waistband the same way we did the collar, by folding down the offset parts and sew them down. Pull down the waistband, and to really finish sewing the jacket, I'm gonna top stitch the neckline down to the opening and around the waist. Get rid of the tissue paper and we finish sewing the jacket. Are we done with the clothes? Not yet. I already attached snaps for the tank top's closure and slip a piece of cardstock in it. I'm gonna paint the non-binary symbol on the tank top, and here I'm sketching it out. I'm not watering down my acrylic paint, but I add a few drops of this fabric additive. I don't even know what this stuff does, and I start painting. Painting graphics on fabric like this is not my favorite thing to do, and I don't even know why I don't like doing this, but this time I really want the clothes to have some designs on them. For the jacket, I'm gonna paint an X on the left chest. The letter X has been used for identification for people outside of male and female, so I just thought it's appropriate. Here I'm painting a black outline to make the letter more crisp. On the left sleeve, I decided to paint lightning bolts for some reason. Another nod to Frankie, perhaps? Looks pretty cool though. And on the right sleeve, I'm gonna paint the non-binary flag itself, starting with white. We don't have to do the yellow because the sleeve itself is already yellow. And then purple. And then black. And here I'm gluing small beads along one side of the opening to look like buttons. The jacket is one of my proudest pieces I've ever made, which got me thinking, why did I stop sewing human clothes? Anyway, I paint the nails yellow, purple, and black. Then I seal them with gloss varnish. I lost the original shoes for these feet, and even if I had them, those shoes were ugly. Anyway, I got these random shoes that fit the feet pretty well. But you can probably tell that these shoes are very poorly constructed, so let's do something about that. I put them in hot water to loosen up the glue and get rid of the fabric parts. We only need the soles. One of the soles is falling apart because of that. Worry not, just glue it back together. To reconstruct the shoes, first I'm gonna fuse this purple and yellow platter together with iron-on adhesive sheet. Then I trace the pattern for the upper and cut it out. Punch holes for the shoelace. Glue the upper to the sole. I use the yellow side for the tongue and I glue that to the sole as well. Do the same to make the other shoe and we got this. I actually had to redo them because the uppers weren't right. They're not anything impressive, but they're definitely an upgrade. For the shoelaces, I'm just gonna weave some black embroidery thread. And with that, we can call it a doll. I named them Zion, after Sophie Zion, rest in peace, and also to match the letter on their jacket. So what do you think? Do you like them? Do you not like them? And if you're non-binary, please let me know what you think of them, because your opinions on this doll matter the most. Like, did I do justice? Is this doll an adequate representation? More importantly, I really hope I didn't do or say anything wrong throughout this video. Despite the brush strokes and the paint flaking off, this doll is one of the projects that I ended up having a lot more fun working on than I thought I would. I did the coolest hairstyle ever, and their outfit is A1, especially the jacket. Can't get over the jacket, it's my favorite part. Wait a second, why is this video so long? This project isn't all that complicated. I think I explained the clothes too much. Anyway, this is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did working on it. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to. See you in the next one. Bye!